Shalom, everyone. Today, we're discussing the portion, the message that Mauricio brought, and I'm really sorry that he's not here to further expand and to speak with us about his message, because for me it was actually a very powerful one. I think every one of the messages that we get, I'm always amazed, how they relate to our lives and things that we're going through. I remember so that would happen so often when Rabbi was here and he would speak, and it was like people would say, "How do you know that I'm going through that? Were you speaking to me?" But the his last the he ends with um, these men, Avihu and Nadav, Hophni and Pinchas, who suffered, who died, who suffered because, well, Avihu and Nadav died because they just offered something that they shouldn't have offered. And he said Eli and Aaron were two great leaders, but because they danced around to please everyone and be in everyone's good graces, they lost their loved ones. You know, we can lose, we may not lose loved ones, but we can become sick. We could lose a position. We could basically, there's many things that can happen to us. And I know that that's something that I've been struggling with lately a lot. I have two aspects to my character. One, I remember when our rabbi did the disc. Remember the DISC? The D is a type of personality that's very direct, very strong, very demanding, very, uh, they take charge. And I have that in my character. The other side of my character is the I. The I wants to please everyone. The I says, "I'm here, please like me. Please pay attention to me. Give me attention." So I have those two sides. And sometimes I see things and I want to say them. I don't see the whole picture. And, depending on also how we're brought up, we may be brought up in a way where everything looks negative or everything looks positive. Some people seem to see the negative in things. Others see the great things. But with me, I always tend to see, I'm a positive person, but I tend to see the negative first. And it takes me time to turn that around and try to see the positive in it. So I say things sometimes out of, like, too impulsively, and then I get into trouble. And other times when I'm supposed to say something, I don't. So it's like, and what problems am I having right now? With my mouth. Since last October, I've been suffering with this thing in my mouth that the doctors cannot find, and no amount of natural cures, no medications have been able to help. And that's since last October, so that's 6 months. Usually things happen and I'm cured in an instant. Miriam always says I have the emotional life of a fruit fly, that things happen very fast in my life. And here it's been going on and on and on. And when I read this message by Mauricio, I realized that this is what's happened to Aaron and to Eli has been happening to me. That I'm sometimes too soft even on my own children, too soft on people when I should be harder, but not necessarily harder in a way that's going to hurt somebody, but to learn how to diplomatically say something to that person that gets them to see what they're doing. But I also have to do that with myself. It sounds complicated, like a complicated issue, and it's sometimes hard to express what we're really feeling, but we do get sick from things that we're not dealing with emotionally. I know people who have come down with cancer because of the anger that they hold inside. So we have to learn how to balance things in our lives. And I know that if Mauricio were here, he had a lot more to say. Miriam, do you want to add something to what you've heard from his message today?
Okay. Could you hear me? Because I'm trying out
Yes, I hear you very well.
because I'm trying out my headphones.
Hooray! That's great.
To be honest, I couldn't follow a lot of it, not because of Mauricio, I guess because of me. But what I gleaned really importantly is that even if our motives are good, you know what we've
Our
always
intentions.
our motives and our intentions, and we've
Right.
been talking about that as the heart of what matters in our life. But beyond that, it is more than that even. And that was kind of scary because we could have great intentions, but really do the wrong things.
Exactly.
And I would like for me, I'm always wrestling with keeping the Shabbat. Like, who am I doing this for? You know, sometimes am I just uh doing it because we're supposed to do it? Like, where's my heart in all of this? Or my heart is to obey God, but like, anyway, I find that very incredible and very, the fact that Mauricio brought that up. It's more than our intentions.
Yeah.
Something I'm trying to think.
It's like King David had good intentions to bring the ark back to Israel. Because where it was sitting with the gun. And
Yeah,
here, but what happened? He hadn't done as he was supposed to do as a king. He's supposed to know the Torah, to read the Torah to the people. And he should have known that the only one who could touch the ark were the priests who were given that role. So this ark was placed on the cart. When the cart fell over, Uzzah went to touch it and he died. And so what happened? The ark ended up in another place for another 3 months, and then he went to get it. But in the meantime, he learned how to properly bring it. So yes, we fail. Yes,
but
our intentions may be good and we fail, but we always have another chance to learn from it and to go past it. Sometimes the tragedies, the things that happen are tragic, like Nadab and Abihu, they died. Aaron's sons died. Eli's sons died. These are tragic stories.
I think in the case of Abihu and Nadab, and how do you pronounce Nadab and
Abihu. Yeah.
Abihu? I think there was arrogance in there. I don't think it was only like their intentions were. I think there was something added to that.
I'm sure.
So that's,
But
I
not
think,
only that, we have to go back to what we talked about last week. Remember, this was the beginning, the foundation of the forming of the child Israel. It was a young nation, and God was harder on them at that time, just like
right,
when
right,
our
right, right.
kids are small. That's when we need to discipline them. That's when we need to punish and show them why they're being punished and the consequences of why they're being punished. That idea is not out there today. The kids are getting away with murder. They can do anything today. Little kids are speaking to their parents in a way that, and everybody's, oh, that's so cute. Look how they're yelling at their parents. Look how they're, and they're getting away with it. Let me tell you, when they become teenagers, that's not going to be so funny.
No, right, right.
So Israel was a young nation. And so the punishment seems more severe at the time. But as time goes by, the nation would grow and would have good principles. And that's what he was teaching us, I believe, from these stories.
Right. That I understand. What King David was doing, he should have, are you saying the priest should have taken care of, uh, take, like,
Yes, they needed to belong there, not Uzzah or whoever he was. He wasn't a priest.
and
The
maybe God
Levites,
even wasn't ready for it to be moved, even though it was profaned in an awful place, maybe God was saying it's, until you learn your lessons and learn some, maybe he wanted it there in the worst place possible.
Right. And
So even in our own lives, sometimes when we think the right thing to do is what we perceive as a godly thing,
yeah,
but maybe it's not even the right time to do it,
yeah, exactly.
even though it's the right thing.
Yeah. And sometimes we make these the artifacts, like I have the Torah scroll. It used to be here, it was in the synagogue. Now it's in my other room, and I walk in and I look at the Torah scroll, and like people have walked in and they say, "Oh, you're so blessed. You have a Torah scroll." It's just it's paper. And
Yeah, exactly.
honestly,
Yeah,
if I'm blessed, it's because God is blessing me for whatever reason.
exactly.
And the fact that I have a mezuzah up on my door, some people are afraid if they leave their house without kissing the mezuzah,
Exactly.
without kiss, they won't have luck. This
Yeah,
It's not
we
those.
do that, and all religions do that. Yeah, I was going to say about kissing the mezuzah, also about when a kippah falls on the floor, people kiss it, and if you don't kiss it, it's, I mean, it's an okay custom if you couple it with what's really important, but if you don't, and you think if you forget to kiss the kippah, that has nothing, it's just a piece of cloth.
Yeah. And if a Bible accidentally falls on the floor and
Yeah,
you know,
that's another thing.
yeah, you get crazy. But for me also, it's like we have to learn the balance of, it's like when Aaron was afraid of the people. And so when they asked him to build the golden calf, and he bowed to their desire to
Right.
do that.
Yeah,
And we have to be careful to bow only to God, not to people.
it's so hard.
It's so hard, especially with our families,
Yeah,
with, I know you don't have children, but sometimes our children have a hold on us because we've made mistakes. And the guilt of making mistakes, uh, you know, it's like they turn it into a weapon. Look what you did to me. And that's some of the things that I have to, um, keep going to God. I cannot allow anyone to dictate to me my walk with God. That's between him and me. And I have to learn that um, I shouldn't learn to please people, but to please my God. And that is a lifelong journey. It doesn't happen overnight.
I mean, even with what's happening in the world with, the rise of anti-Semitism, the just even things happening in Canada. I mean, thank God we're not in somewhere else, which is even worse. But sometimes fear, for me, the biggest issue is fear,
Yeah.
is if we speak up, you could get beaten up. Even in the metro, people have been beaten up.
Yeah, it's very true.
But I
Well,
mean, even that's a balancing act. God doesn't want us also out of pride to say, well, I spoke up. Sometimes he's saying, don't speak up because he doesn't want your face smashed in.
exactly. I think that's the key, is learning when to say things, when not to say things, how to say them, how not. Diplomacy is an art. It's something,
Not exactly, but it's you
it's
could
wisdom
be
also.
you could say the right thing with the right heart,
Yeah,
but is it worth being killed over that? Is God wanting us to, for example, you could be in the metro and you see uh, something happening that is really, really, really wrong, but is it the right time and the right place? Does God want you to do something at that point? And then you end up, let's say, being slapped around. I mean, it's like when
I have
Israel,
done that. I have gotten into battles like that.
No, so have I
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
And the point is that the time or the place? Look how many times God,
Sometimes it is.
yes, of course,
Yeah.
sometimes it is,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not. Like, how many times did Israel go to war, even though God, it was a nation, a
That's what he
decrepit,
talked about.
paganistic nation,
Yeah.
which deserves not to be fought against. Is that what God wants at this time?
Exactly.
Like, sometimes I wrestle, like, I have no doubt that now with the kidnappings, there's no doubt that war there is the consequence of this. There's no
Right.
doubt. But sometimes I don't know if some of the things that Israel's doing is partly pride at this point. Some of the things, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But sometimes, not everything Israel did in proper response was exactly what God wants. Because so much of what's happening is like you know, Israel will survive and we're strong and we're proud and da da da. Where is God in all of this?
Exactly,
You
Marion.
so
Exactly. And where
sometimes,
were we before this happened? See, nobody wants to talk about that because it sounds horrible.
yeah, it sounds
Where
awful.
were we before the Holocaust? Where were we before the Spanish Inquisition? God says, when you go into the land or a land and you grow fat, do not forget me. We forget him and we allow the ark to be brought into Dagon. We allow
Right.
idolatry into the land. In Israel, in all, the world is filled with idolatry. And we have to fight that at every level. And we have to fight that in our own lives. You and
Yeah,
I were both involved in the New Age,
yeah,
in Hinduism, and all these different philosophies and ideologies looking for truth. We went through all that. Thank God he got us out of it. But our lives and the lives of our families were almost destroyed from that. We should be dead at this moment in our lives. You and I have talked about that often.
yeah,
And we have to be humbled.
yeah,
We're
that's for sure.
continuously being humbled before our God because the Bible is a series of stories. The Pharaohs and the Moseses. The Pharaohs were proud, arrogant. I can do it on my own. I don't need God. I am a God. And then Moses himself had to learn
Yeah,
how to bow before God. He was the one. It's astounding some of the things that have happened to him. And I have moments like that. I have moments when I just bow my head because I know that God is with me, that he has opened up a door for me, or he's opened up even a parking place for me. I just watch how these things happen and I go, wow, he really is real. He's really with me. And then the next minute I can fall again. But that's our journey through
yeah,
life.
yeah,
And I think it's a good idea to go back and read it because it's hard to get everything from his message by just listening once. Read it when I send it out, go back and read it together with listening to it, and you'll see how he weaves these stories, bringing the past into it's hard in 15 minutes to bring a story out like this that has so much in it. And let's see what else is there. I think that's all that I have to say on this subject. I liked what he said when the ark was in the hands of the Philistines. They saw it as a super weapon,
right.
the Jedi sword. And it is.
We do that ourselves,
Oh yeah, we
you
do.
know, even I mean, I like the Ashkenazi tradition of when the Torah goes by, you kiss the scroll. But
Yeah.
that is borderline. It is borderline idolatry. Idolatry, not the act of doing that, but
Yes.
what it makes people thinking of the power of this It's
Yes,
just a scroll made of
yes.
paper.
Well, people who left, who used to come to our congregation, who left Christianity, or some who were still Christians, got upset when we would
Yeah, I remember that. I
scroll.
remember
They
that.
would say, "What's the difference between that and kissing Jesus on the cross?"
In a way, I do understand that
Well, it's a
because
tradition.
it's a tradition. I understand it,
Yeah.
and it's it's not the same as paganism because the scroll represents God Himself, and if
Well, it's
people,
again the intention of the heart.
it's the intention. But if I
Yeah.
were like, from Mars and I just came to this planet and I saw that and I had been briefed about idolatry and I worship the same God as, because the God is the same for even Martians or Venusians,
Well, you don't
whatever.
have to go that far. You can go to a little tribe up the Mayans.
Yeah, if I just
Yeah.
came here and I saw that, I would believe, oh, that's their God, this thing, this
Right.
is their God,
Yeah.
So I understand why they're saying that, but bottom line is it's the intention of the heart, and the
Exactly.
tradition comes from a good place, I believe. But I think even Jewish people, they get upset if, let's say, the Torah went by and they missed kissing it or whatever, or you don't want to get too close to it, and you have to like just be aware of it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Like if you have kids, make sure that they know that the Torah itself is not the thing you're worshiping.
Yeah,
That's something
exactly.
really important to, not the Torah, it's the God of the Torah that you're worshiping.
Yes, it's a good, Brian. I'm glad you got it. You know, it's hard to separate because tradition and religions are so much a part of our lives in everywhere you way you turn. It's so difficult to step back and step outside the box of religion and just take what the Torah is saying for what it says. And that is a very difficult process because we all want to be identified. We need identity. And how do you identify yourself? Like when people ask, well, who are you in this congregation? What are you? And it's sometimes difficult to say, well, we're not anything. We just follow the people of the Bible, their stories. We pass them down. We learn to walk in our lives, but we still do need some traditions.
Yeah, definitely. But
So
God has given us many good traditions, but
yes,
you know,
the ones and those are enough. He gave us 7 days of the week, the seventh day, the Shabbat, the most important. Like our community, the Jewish community seems to say that Yom Kippur is the most important. Even last night we were talking about it, about Yom Kippur. And I said, Yom Kippur is known as a day of fasting, but it isn't in the Torah.
yeah,
It's a day when people would bring their offerings. It was a day of feasting. It wasn't a terrible day. It was a day yes, we had to recognize and humble ourselves. But that's a daily practice. This was
yeah,
a communal one where the
yeah,
community would come together and offer offerings, eat together. Remember who our God is. That's the key. Remember who our God is. Very few people have a relationship with the God of Israel. Instead, they build a religion and so many rules that can be broken. Anyway, we repeat this over and over and over again.
They didn't return the old tables.
Pardon me. Can we
They
talk
didn't
about it
return the
live?
old table.
Brian, we'll talk about it later, okay? Thank you. Anyway, if anyone else has something to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, Moshe's just coming on. Moshe, how are you? Moshe from Uganda, we're just finishing. Well, I want to wish everybody a wonderful rest of the Shabbat. Enjoy your day. Take the time. I'm going to send out the message soon.
Miriam, you didn't get without a cord. headphones with cord. Not a wireless.
No, not like you. She's not as advanced as you. All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Have a wonderful day.
Shabbat
You
shalom.
too, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Shabbat
God bless
shalom.
you all.
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios, amigos.